Welcome back to the Breakaway USA Network. This is the weekend update with Gentry and Kev. Speechless with Kev. Welcome back to the program. We've got a really exciting show for you today. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about how incompetent Biden is, potentially Michelle Obama replacing him as a nominee for the DNC convention. Right? We're going to talk about dating a little bit. I saw this crazy video on TikTok that I want to show Kevin. It's actually wild. So we're just going to hop right into it. Kevin, the Super Bowl is tomorrow, and it actually has some pretty big implications, right? Mm-hmm. The last time the Chiefs and the Niners were in the Super Bowl together was 2020. And the Chiefs won. Yeah, and the Chiefs won, and then Biden became president. So there's a little bit of like conspiracy world stuff like going on. Like it's a little bit strange. The difference this year is that it is like it's probably going to be the most watched Super Bowl of all time to this point because, as we know, Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelce. Brock Purdy is the quarterback for the other team, right? The Niners. He's what do they call him, Mr. Underachiever? Or
I got to be honest, I'm letting you take the reins on this one. I don't know that. I mean, I've been excited to watch the Super Bowl this year, but I was pretty pissed when Detroit lost. I was pretty pissed that the Chiefs were back in it. And I came in like third in my fantasy football league. And once that's done, I mean, like, my money's off the table. I'm not betting on this game or anything. Maybe I'll do a squares. You ever play squares for the Super Bowl?
No, I haven't.
No, it's
is that like the bingo game?
Yeah, so it's like you got a big board with all the squares on it, and all of them have like scores on them. And so each quarter, if like you bet on a certain score, you put like $5-10 on each quarter. If it's this, if that's the score of each team or the score combined, then you get a part of the pot. And then if you guess the final one too, and you bet on that, then you get a lot of money. That's how I usually bet on the Super Bowl. I'm not betting on a team. I have hopes that it's not the Chiefs, but I don't even know any of the conspiracies. I don't know Brock Purdy. The conspiracy I do know is about all the Taylor Swift stuff, which I know we've covered on this show. I've covered it on my show extensively. And I'm just done with it. I'm done with her. I'm done with Travis Kelce, Mr. Pfizer. I'm done with all of it. I'm ready for this. I never thought I'd say it, but I'm ready for football season to be over. I'm done with it now.
Wow. See, yeah. I like football. I sat down and watched, I think, 20 games this year, right? My team is the Seahawks, so this year they're terrible. But I've been getting into it a little bit more. And but I'm actually kind of interested to watch the marketing madness that is Taylor Swift getting involved with the Chiefs, because to be honest, if there wasn't so many political implications for it, like I think a lot more people should be watching this marketing and PR masterclass that it is, right? But there is a lot of political implications for it. It seems like the country is so divided, right? There's so many conservatives that are going to tune into it because they want to see the Chiefs lose. They don't necessarily want to see the Niners win, right? Yeah. But a lot of people want to see the Chiefs lose.
No, I could totally see that. I mean, like, I'm not even necessarily hardcore 49ers. I mean, I'm from Illinois. I'm from Bears territory. And so like, I don't ever expect to see any team I like win, because if you like, you can't have that ever here. But because I'm a White Sox fan too. So if you pay attention to baseball at all, you know that I'm a loser there for quite a few years too. So no, I'm excited for the ads. I'll tell you, I'm excited for the ads. I always enjoy watching a lot of the marketing. It's been a while since we've had like a good year for a lot of good ads, but I don't know. I think maybe we'll see some fun stuff out of Bud Light. They used to do some really fun stuff, and then we had the trans thing crap last year, and so I don't know. Maybe I know they have Shane Gillis now is going to be
A Bud Light sponsor, right?
a Bud
Or
Light sponsor, which is he's like their new spokesman or something like that. And I'm really proud of them. And this is totally off topic, but I'm really proud of them for that. I think that's probably one of their best marketing decisions they've ever made
Mhm.
after making one of the worst ones. Because here they take a guy who got kicked off of SNL because he apparently made some homophobic tweets, or who really gives a shit, but something like that. Um, he said like, I don't know, he doesn't want his son to be gay. I mean I don't either, but like the and now this guy comes back. He had one special on Netflix. It blew up. Everybody loves him. He's not politically correct, but that's what's funny, and that's why SNL hasn't been funny for quite a while. That's why SNL brings on Nikki Haley last weekend, and we saw how that went. And so Shane Gillis is now with Bud Light. He's anti woke. He's realistic. He's not necessarily like 100% like I'm all in on Trump, MAGA, like
Yeah.
true MAGA patriot, but he's anti woke. And I think it's actually really good. So maybe they do something with him for this Super Bowl commercial because I loved their marketing in the past. They used to have Dilly Dilly, like Dilly Dilly with the Bud Light
Which was
Night.
amazing.
It was
Dilly Dilly.
amazing. Dilly
Yeah.
Dilly. I know I was in like middle school when I didn't even really know, when I barely knew what a beer tasted like.
Mhm.
And I would be with my friends Dilly Dilly with like milk cartons and crap when I was 12. So no, they used to be amazing at marketing, and then all
Yeah.
of a sudden, they give them money so that they promote like chicks with dicks, and then they lose all of it. But now Shane Gillis is there. I think Shane Gillis is hosting SNL tonight. I'll be tuning into that because I really like him, and I think he's really funny, and it could be the only thing that actually could save Bud Light's brand. Because I can tell you now, almost any time I see anybody drinking a Bud Light nowadays, I'm just like, man, like I wonder how long they've taken it up the ass. Just saying.
So I think one thing that could save Bud Light's career, right? Their business without even Shane Gillis, if they tweeted out the video of that guy in church saying, "I'm not gay no more. I like women, 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 women." But they put the Bud Light logo on his face. If they did that, they would they would save their brand forever. Okay.
Yeah.
Second thought, since we're talking about comedians and the power that they have,
Yeah.
do you think that comedians and comedy really could change the tide of the conversation in America and really save America? It seems like this really interesting thing. I was watching a Bert Kreischer podcast.
I
Like
love
it was in
Kreischer.
like 2018, 2019. I think it might have been a Sober October on Joe Rogan's, but he said something really interesting. He said that he knew that Trump was going to win in 2016 because he was traveling all over the country and specific jokes were working in a lot more of the country than on the coast. And so he actually, like, the comedians knew what was going to happen before it actually happened.
Yeah. Some of them did at least.
Yeah.
Here's the thing I've always thought about comedy, and I thought about this because look, I am 23 right now. And so a lot of my forming times in my life was through adolescence into adulthood. And so learning like what was socially acceptable and how to converse with other people happened at a time in which we went into probably the most censored era of American history, at least in modern times. And it was really fascinating because like it was the change of language all the time. I've talked about it before on I think this show even, if not just my own, about how, well, at one point like black was acceptable and then black isn't acceptable and now it's people of color, but black is also kind of, and there's also African American. And so learning all of those rules and seeing all of that, but even when all of that was changing, the one area that still happened to have some level of kind of free speech to where there wasn't necessarily a court of public opinion that was always swinging down its hammer
Mm-hmm.
was comedy. Because even though you'd have Vogue or Vice or Vox. Oh, they
Right.
all start with V. But you'd have all those V companies or CNN even that would come out and be like, oh, this person made a joke about rape or abortion or something that was like, oh, he doesn't like feminists. Or Bill Burr says that. And I don't know if you ever seen Bill Burr has a thing where he and it can sound really bad, but it's like it's a joke like there's never a good reason to hit a woman. He's like, I can think of a ton of good reasons to hit a woman. I don't think you should ever do it, but I can think of a ton of good reasons. And he talks about that joke and he says, yeah, like some stupid feminist magazine wrote it out. And like when you read it, it looks terrible, but it's the delivery and it's everything like that. And so when it comes, even in the time of to make a long story longer, even in a time where everything seemed restricted, and if you called the wrong person sir, you'd get like basically you've committed social suicide. Comedy still was a place where you could say anything, and yeah, they might try to come after you, but as long as you didn't like make a half-assed apology to try to because some stupid publicist told you to,
Right.
you'd be fine.
Right.
You'd be fine. And I think we're starting to come out of it. I mean,
Mhm.
you even made kind of what some have deemed an off-color joke on Instagram today. And yeah, you're getting some hate for it, but like you're still alive and you're still here. And so I think that's that, and you can tell that joke if you'd like, but because I don't want to take your spotlight. But my point being with all of this is that I think because of comedy, because even through the hardest times, people saw you could still be fine. Your career's still fine
Mhm.
as long as you just kind of power through it and stand by what you said. If you really meant it, then people are starting to see, you know what? Like, I was so afraid of saying chicks don't have dicks or
Yeah.
anything like, or that a man is a man, a woman is a woman. I was so afraid. I don't know why I was, because they're starting to see, man, those people can keep their jobs and
Mhm.
keep their livelihoods and be just fine and say what's on their mind. And so I do think you're right. Comedy has definitely had a major effect on the free speech movement. Um, and so, yeah, I would just agree with that. I think they have led honestly the charge of the free speech movement.
Yeah. Well, I think the whole thing about comedy is that you don't really mean what you're saying. You're just making a joke,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what you're doing is you're trying to form a viewpoint that's funny so that you can sell tickets and make people laugh. And like they say that laughter is the best medicine. And when you can make jokes about the weird stuff that's going on and kind of calm people down from getting all fired up on the right and on the left,
Yeah.
right? I think it's freaking hilarious. Like Shane Gillis does a fantastic job of pointing out how hilarious Trump is,
Yeah.
right? And because he's freaking funny, and people on the left are starting to see, oh wait, actually he was funny. All this hatred that I feel towards him was manufactured by the media. Joe Rogan, Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, Theo Vaughn, Andrew Schultz, all those guys are doing a fantastic job of pushing back against this like woke stuff, this woke ideology that's really gone too far.
Yeah.
And they've made, I mean, they made tons of money off of them going out and basically telling the truth through jokes. And I freaking love it. I freaking love it. I mean, they're trying to cancel Joe Rogan's podcast basically on a weekly basis because of who he has on, right? And it's like, what? Like, I can't have a conversation anymore. And he doesn't even
Seriously.
like, he is the authority on a lot of stuff just because of the size of his audience. But even he will tell you that he's just a dude. He's just a bro.
Yeah.
Like he
Well, and that's why I mean, think about it.
yeah,
Nowhere. I mean, we're both in content creation. If you pitch the idea to anybody of, hey, we're going to do a 3 to 4 hour long form video program to where we just talk about the randomest shit with with minimal to no planning, and we
right,
just kind of like rattle and keep the conversation. Like anybody who's in PR, anybody who's in content creation would say no one's going to watch that.
right.
It's the equivalent of when Bohemian Rhapsody came out and everybody said that's a 6-minute song, no one's going to listen to it.
But then it turned out to be the greatest song of all time.
But then it turns out to be a massive hit, at least. And that's that's what happens with a lot of things. I mean, when you push that boundary and when you can do it well, because I'll tell you, if you and I got up and just said, okay, today we're doing 3 to 4 hours, that's not easy. Like, that's not easy. I know people that do. I've worked in radio for a few years now, and I've known people that do 3-hour radio shows. It is not easy. Like, I'm not going to compare it and say it's like the hardest job in the world or that it's harder than manual labor or anything. But it's like to stay on that long and also to plan for 3 hours of talking.
Right.
It's not easy. So my point being is you're right. Joe Rogan has completely demolished the game in terms of all of that and showed he's been one of the many that have shown how the left will just silence anybody simply for having a conversation, but then they'll claim that the right are the fascists.
Right. Well, I don't know if you've noticed this, but even like in the last few episodes that we've done, I've petered off at the end, and it's because I usually record a podcast before this, and I'm just tired. Yeah. It's really weird how just talking and trying to come up with something interesting or a hot take can be.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's just kind of going off of what you said. But we also have another story that I wanted to cover is some people just can't even do long form. And that person is the president of the United States.
God,
he went and did
absolute idiot.
He did a surprise press conference after the special report came out that he was mentally compromised and couldn't remember a whole bunch of really key information, like when his brother died or when he was vice president.
His son. I want to talk about that report for a second, too, because I think the funniest thing about this report, and it's funny in a really sad way, is so they basically come out and say, yeah, so everything that Trump is currently on trial for, everything that Trump is currently indicted for, Joe Biden did it, too.
Yeah.
And in the funniest thing, too, is like there's recorded conversations in which Biden says, I did share that classified information. Like, that is the crime, and he's admitting to it. It's equivalent to Richard Nixon on his smoking gun tapes or R. Kelly when he flat out said that he had sex with a 14-year-old. Like, it is the same. Like, you are openly. And so first rule of committing crimes, don't record your confession. Like, that's the first rule if you want to get away with it.
Right.
Secondly, not only is he proven to have done everything that Trump is accused of doing and is now indicted for, he is then still it's still recommended that no charges are brought against Joe Biden. Why? Because, he's just a feeble-minded old man because he's too stupid to commit crimes and know that he actually did it. That's what they're saying. So if you want to talk about the two-tier justice system, yes, you could come out with an easy argument about liberal privilege or that Joe Biden is a benefactor of the elite, of the privilege of the elite. But no, you could even just come out and say, well, if you're a stupid old man, you can get away with murder. Because that's essentially what it is.
But so the other thing is that they're accusing Trump and Biden of doing the same thing. It's not the same thing. Trump was president. He had every right to have those documents, at least from what I've understood of the law. He had every right to have those documents. As vice president, you don't. Plus that there were he also had some of in his office at Penn, right, where the Chinese were paying his salary through donations, right? He was making a tremendous amount of money there.
Yeah. See, I don't disagree with you. What I'm saying though is everything that Trump is currently on trial for, and I believe that Trump, at least from everything I've seen, I agree with you on that. But everything that he's currently indicted on is stuff that they said Biden did, and he knows he did it. And so that's what I'm saying is like, no matter how innocent Trump is, Biden is as guilty as the left believes Trump is.
Right.
And it's stated specifically in this report.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then the funniest thing is that he comes out, like you were saying at the beginning, then he comes out and he's like, obviously disgruntled that a report comes and says that he's a stupid old man. And so he comes out to tell everybody he's not a stupid old man. And in doing so, shows everybody that he's a stupid old man.
Right. Well, let's actually play the clip because I have it queued up here. Because it is it's so, and the questions that get asked at the end of it too, it's so freaking funny. So let's go ahead and play this here.
I'm excited. This is probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and it's sad. We have to remember that this is a sad thing that we're watching because this is a man that basically has dementia.
Yep. Now to the White House, President Biden addressing the nation.
All right, looks like Fox News doesn't have sound for this.
Investigation.
Here we go.
Going back more than 40 years, even into the 1970s when I was still a new United States Senator. The special counsel acknowledged I cooperated completely. I did not throw up any roadblocks. I sought no delays. In fact, I was so determined to give the special counsel what he needed, I went forward with a 5-hour in-person interview over 2 days on October the 8th and 9th of last year, even though Israel had just been attacked by Hamas on the 7th and I was very occupied. It was in the middle of handling an international crisis. I was especially pleased to see special counsel make clear the stark distinction and difference between this case and Mr. Trump's case. The special counsel wrote, and I quote, "Several material distinctions between Mr. Trump's case and Mr. Biden's are clear," continuing to quote, "most notably, after given multiple chances to return classified documents to avoid prosecution, Mr. Trump allegedly did the opposite. According to the indictment, he not only refused to return the documents for many months, he also obstructed justice by enlisting others to destroy evidence and then to lie about it. In contrast, he went on to say Mr. Biden turned in classified documents to the National Archives and the Department of Justice, consented to the search of multiple locations, including his home, sat for a voluntary interview, and in other ways cooperated with the investigation," end of quote. I've seen the headlines since the report was released about my willful retention of documents. These assertions are not only misleading, they're just plain wrong.
All right, pause.
On page 215.
So I don't even remember the quote that he comes up with next, but he's flat out lying. In the report, it says he talked to his ghostwriter and said, "I have classified documents I am not supposed to have." I'm paraphrasing, but like he flat out admitted it. And so he's coming out here now and being like, "Oh, I didn't do that. I didn't do that." He's a liar.
Yep.
You can keep going with it.
If you had a chance, I know it's a thick document. On page 215 of the report of the special counsel found the exact opposite. Here's what he wrote. "There is in fact a shortage of evidence that I willfully retained classified materials related to Afghanistan." On page 12, the special counsel also wrote for another documents, "The decision to decline criminal charges was straightforward. The evidence suggests that Mr. Biden did not willfully retain these documents.
Because he was too dumb.
Willfully retain these documents." In addition,
that's why.
I know there's some attention paid to some language in the report about my recollection of events. There's even reference that I don't remember when my son died. How in the hell dare he raise that?
Now watch this. Watch this.
Frankly, when I was asked the question, I thought to myself, it wasn't any of their damn business. Let me tell you something. Some of you have commented, I wear since the day he died, every single day, the rosary he got from Our Lady of...
Pause. Okay. So here's the importance of this that he's doing is so he comes out to say, my memory is fine and damn them for asserting anything separately or anything differently.
Yeah.
And he comes out and in the way to do that is he brings off what would be a genuinely emotional thing if he could pull it off, is he comes out saying they insinuate or imply that I don't remember when my son died. And to try to prove that he does, he brings out the rosary as a prop as a prop. Like, it's there as a prop so that he can show that he remembers. And then in the process of trying to tell everybody that his memory is fine, he forgets where his son got him the rosary. Like, this is just absolutely terrible. Like, do you understand how stupid you have to be?
And this is the president of the United States.
Like, it's the president of the United States. It's also just, like, I cannot imagine being on his communications, PR.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I cannot imagine being on that team because, like, I guarantee you they had a plan where they said, okay, you're going to prove that you remember your son and that he died. And a way that you're going to do that is you're going to bring this rosary and you're going to remember it came from this church that he got it from for you.
Mm-hmm.
And he can't remember it.
Yeah.
At all. Like, you just, there's nothing. When I watch that, I'm like, this has got to be the worst press conference in American history. Because the entire goal of it, I mean, if there's another one, I'd love for somebody to send it to me. Send it to me, anybody in my DMs, Speechless Kev, on pretty much everything. Send it to me in my DMs. I will react to it. I will give you a shout out if you think that there's one worse. But when the entire goal of this entire press conference is to show that your memory is fine and that you are mentally fit to be president, and you forget things, it's just, and we're what, like 3 minutes into this? This is 3, maybe 4 minutes. What's the timestamp on this?
Yeah, it's actually 2:59, so you're spot on.
So we're 3 minutes into this, and he's already forgetting. This is the part. This isn't even questions. This isn't handling anybody else. This is 3 minutes into this, and he can't seem to handle even just a pre-planned statement. He had all day. I mean, there was hours and hours. And the funniest thing is that this is simultaneous. What was happening? This came out on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
This was like 7:58 p.m. on Thursday, Eastern time. 2 hours prior, just about, is when Tucker released the interview with Vladimir Putin.
Mm-hmm.
The first 30 minutes of Vladimir Putin's interview. Vladimir Putin, who has been the president, prime minister, whatever the fuck they call him over there.
Dictator.
Yeah, that. For 30 some years, whatever, 40 years. He's been that for that long. He's an old man. I think he's like in his 70s. And he gives a 30-minute, practically uninterrupted history, in-depth history of Russia, Ukraine, and their conflict that spans like 1,800 years or something like that, or 800 years, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's their president. And I'm not going to say I love Putin or I like him or anything. Like, I'm not even trying to say, I'm just saying when that's the image that you have as the country of Russia, and then this is what we have as a member, as our country, as our representative of America, we look like weaklings over here. We look weak, simply put, from just this man.
Oh, for sure. So his PR team, his communications team is working like overtime. Mm-hmm. They're working so hard. So I've probably seen only a handful of clips of them putting out Biden talking normally. And whenever I see those clips, I always comment, oh, look, he actually got a sentence out. And normally that comment gets a ton of likes. Like I like his team is probably the best team in the world because for some reason Democrats still like him more than Trump, right? Now there's a lot of argument on that, but like they're making him look decent online if you look at the right channels, which is, I think, unbelievably hard. So whoever these people are, like, you're doing a great job destroying the country.
No, absolutely. And even along with that too, it's not even that they like Biden more than Trump. Well, they do, but it's like they don't even really like Biden. It's just that Biden is a placeholder where they're just like, I'd rather have like a more like a meaningless blob that's of an idiot in the place than the orange man bad. That's basically how they see it. And the thing that I want everybody to know, to remind everybody too, I'm going to go through probably this entire clip, and I know we had some other things we wanted to get to. So I'm gonna probably go through this entire clip on my show tomorrow that I do on my channel on Speechless. But I want to remind everybody as you're watching this, we're going to rag on Biden. You've probably ragged on Biden. A lot of people in the media are ragging on Biden, especially for this interview.
Mm-hmm.
But as stupid as he seems, as he is, and as Alzheimer's, dementia ridden, and as sad as it is to see an old man that's consistently being pushed out there, and I'm sure he's told, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, just get on out there, you're doing great. As sad and as crazy as all that is, and it seems like, how could this guy win again in 2024? One, there's the chance that somebody else could take his place. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But two, he absolutely could. And the way that I know that is because in 2022, a senator from Pennsylvania, now senator, a Senate candidate from Pennsylvania, had a stroke while on the campaign trail, bumbled, fumbled, had pretty much no coherence during the majority of his campaign and the most crucial moments of his campaign. Ran against a literal doctor, a guy who's famous for being a doctor. And the stroke candidate won. The guy who could not hear or speak effectively. Why? Because a lot of Pennsylvanians hated Trump and loved abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have enough people that hate Trump and love abortion,
yeah,
you could get somebody who is half dead into any office.
So, really good point. I want to finish this clip, though, because he says something really interesting that most people miss.
Okay, let's hear it.
Every Memorial Day, we hold a service remembering him, attended by friends and family and the people who loved him. I don't need anyone. I don't need anyone to remind me when he passed away or passed away. Simple truth is, I sat for a 5-hour interview over 2 days of events, going back 40 years. At the same time I was managing an international crisis, their task was to make a decision about whether to move forward with charges in this case. That's their decision to make. That's the council's decision to make. That's his job. And they decided not to move forward. For any extraneous commentary, they don't know what they're talking about. It has no place in this report. The bottom line is the matter is now closed. I'm going to continue what I've always focused on, my job of being President of the United States of America. Now, thank you, and I'll take some questions.
President Biden, something the special counsel said in his report is that one of the reasons you were not charged is because, in his description, you are a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president. I put this country back on its feet. I don't need his recommendation. It's
How
totally
bad is your memory, and can you continue as president?
My memory is so bad, I let you speak. That's
Your memory has gotten worse, Mr. President.
My memory is not good. My memory is fine. My memory, take a look at what I've done since I become president. None of you thought I could pass any of the things I got.
You've been listening to President Biden
It's not on
addressing
this
the nation
clip. But essentially, one of the clips that I saw of him is he insinuated that he was in deep talks with Palestine before they invaded Israel.
Interesting.
It is really interesting. So I'll find that clip and I'll post it on the breakaway_USA Instagram account. But it was really weird and no one caught it. And so I wanted to bring that to light. But he's
Absolutely.
just, he's getting testy with the questions like, my memory's so bad, I let you speak for so long. And he was trying to crack a joke, but it just didn't land.
Yeah, it did not land because it's not
as a ghostwriter.
Well, and because it wasn't like really, it's a press conference about your mental capacity, not really the time for a joke. And if it was going to be the time for a joke, it should be a wise crack, not a stupid crack. But that was a bad joke right there. I'll even admit that. But I do want to thank I know I see some people from my channel in the comments and everything. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Megan, Jim, Andrea, we are live. And so keep the comments coming. I really appreciate it. I love all you guys on this, but I want to talk about when it comes to Joe Biden. There is rumors that, and we've talked about it just a bit, that he will be replaced. And we even talked about it a few weeks ago, and it becomes more and more apparent that it's a possibility. New York Post today, February 10th, said Vivek Ramaswamy says Dems will replace Biden with Michelle Obama after the damning special counsel report. Former Republican presidential candidate Vivek doubled down on his theory that Democrats will swap out President Biden with Michelle Obama on their party's ticket following the release of the special counsel's report. The bombshell findings from special counsel report Robert Hur put a spotlight on Biden's cognitive abilities, as we just saw. And Ramaswamy, who was outspoken on the campaign trail about the belief that the 81-year-old president will ultimately not be the Democratic nominee, told Fox Digital that the special counsel's report marks the convenient path for Democrats to nominate the former first lady, saying, quote, the main obstacle to stopping the Democratic Party is they have Kamala Harris, who's a problem, which is to say that if they do sideline Biden, the natural person normally that would be the nominee could be the vice president of the same sitting president. But the vice president is unable, I think, to effectively carry forward the job. She didn't make it to the Iowa caucus in the year that she ran, right, even and within her own party, let alone an issue with broader popularity in the country. So he's obviously insinuating Michelle Obama will be the Dems nominee. That's what he believes. And he also talks about Kamala Harris. And I honestly 100% agree with him. Kamala Harris is arguably the most unpopular person in modern American politics. I actually believe she's more unpopular than Trump. But
so let's think more short term, because a lot of people are kind of excited about the prospect of getting Biden out of office, but the short-term solution is that Kamala Harris then becomes president for the remainder of the term. So that wouldn't be a good thing. And it's not because she's a woman. It's not because she's Jamaican. It's because she's terrible.
And it's also not because she's the daughter of slave owners, or like she's the descendant of slave owners. Not the daughter, but she's the descendant of slave. Did you know that? She's the descendant of slave owners?
I mean, to be honest, I don't even care about that. I'm really nervous because she did sleep her way to the top. Like what if she goes in and this is wild. What if she goes and sleeps with other world leaders, right? Like that's not out of the question. That's not out of the question.
First off, shame on any world leader who consider. I would if I was another world leader and she came up to me and said, "Hey, yo, President Kev, I'll sleep with you for this trade deal." I'll be like, "I'll give you the trade deal to not do that, please." Oh my God, please no, you ugly woman.
But she has zero integrity on any policies. She's put so many people in prison for these weird crimes, right? Like in California. Mm-hmm. Her integrity is shot.
And you know all about Willie Brown. Do you know her history? So Willie Brown, the former DA of San Francisco, I believe, and then she slept with him, had an ongoing relationship with him, and then a few years later, she ran to become the DA, and she got it really easily with Willie's endorsement. And Willie was also he was married at the time that Kamala and him had an affair. She was also in her late 20s, early 30s, I believe, and he was in his mid 50s. It was a weird age gap as well. And so that affair with Willie Brown is really what is said to have skyrocketed her career, and what is in her relationship with him is really what got her through there. I just want everybody, because the reason why I want to kind of give a general outline of that story is because so often you'll hear about you'll hear the slogans "Oh, say no to Joe and the Ho," or Kamala slept her way to the top, anything like that. And for a long time, if you never actually knew any of that stuff and you didn't know the actual history behind it and how true it actually is, there are some people out there there are people on the Democrat side that think that when you say that Kamala slept her way to the top, that you're just a sexist that doesn't believe that women could get for the vice presidency.
Right.
That's what they believe. They just don't actually know. They don't know that Kamala actually, verifiably and admittedly herself, and Willie Brown is admitted to it as well, to having an affair with a person in power and then subsequently getting to further places of power, assumably because of said affair. So it's not just some made up bullshit.
but she ascended to where she is not because of what she did. It wasn't on her
No,
merit. It was
not at all.
because she slept her way to the top, which
Yeah.
is frightening to think about if she does become president, if they actually remove her. So if I was Congress and I was saying, okay, like how can we get the votes to get Biden out of office, right? They're talking with the Senate. They have a slight majority in Congress, right? They're like, okay, like let's figure this out. But like I would also have impeachment or an investigation into Kamala Harris literally right afterwards. Or I would come out with this PR campaign to just smear her name and expose everything that you just talked about.
Well, it's already exposed. Like that's the problem, though. I
It's
mean,
it's
we
but
talked a
but
few
but
weeks
but Kev,
ago.
it's I don't think it's exposed to everybody, right? The mainstream media hasn't reported on this
Oh
really.
yeah, but why? Because they don't care. And like that's kind of like what we were when we were talking a few weeks ago about the idea of campaigns devolving into where you literally have people like running their congressional campaign through OnlyFans, like
Mhm.
support my OnlyFans and support my congressional like crap like that.
Yeah.
Um the reason why we could get to things like that is because they already don't care about Kamala Harris's history. They don't
Right.
they're willing to not like the reason why a lot of people don't know about it, you're right, is because the mainstream media hasn't reported on it. But the
Mhm.
mainstream media hasn't reported on it because the mainstream media doesn't care. And a lot of the Democrats and leftists, they don't care either.
Right.
Like they
Right.
don't have that kind of standard. We have a general standard, and this is why, is because we have a standard where we say we don't really care about your identity. Like if you're black, white, gay, lesbian, whatever, we care about if you're the best person, if you're the smartest, if you're the most qualified, if you've had the most experience, if like we care about those things in what makes a candidate or a doctor or a lawyer or the CEO. As for the left, they can sometimes care about that things, but what matters much more? It's all the DEI. It's how gay are you? How lesbian are you? Do you have an axe wound between your legs? Are you black? Are you Asian? Like, or are you any of those things? That's what matters to them. And so, of course, when somebody sleeps around, that doesn't really matter because her skin is dark enough and her genitalia is just right to be the vice president in their eyes. That's what matters.
So on the opposite side, I love bringing this up because it shocks everybody. Okay, so Turning Point Action has a scorecard, and basically you
Yes.
can see what people in Congress, how they vote, and how it would match up with someone who would be like 100% aligned with Turning Point. Okay, so on the flip side of this whole conversation, George Santos on this scorecard, he voted at a 96% rate with
I mean, with
with
conservatives.
with
Yes.
with conservative values, right? Lining up with Turning Point, which is essentially lining up with the grassroots, right?
Mhm.
Now, if you look at Jim Jordan on that same scorecard, he's at like a 91 or a 92. So
Yes.
really like this whole diversity versus like merit conversation, right? It really should be looked at because George Santos, like, I'm not a big fan of his lifestyle, but he voted really, really well. And he would have voted to oust Mayorkas this last week when we had the chance, right? He would have been that extra vote.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really complicated thing because, well, here's the thing is you can agree with somebody's votes on things, but he shouldn't have been in Congress in the first place. I mean, the fact, and I blame his voters, honestly, a little bit, is when you have somebody that lies that much, like it's it's a difficult. You're bringing up a difficult point because
I am bringing up a difficult point because we are losing this battle, and so why
I
wouldn't you?
know.
Here's the thing: we can bring up all this stuff about him lying, but he was in Congress, he was in the seat,
Mhm.
and he's on the team
Yeah,
because of his voting record.
I think you make a point, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad one. I think it doesn't sit well with my conscience, and that's the difficulty is because I have one, and I'm sure you do too. I'm sure you have a conscience as well, but the left doesn't. And so they don't care about those kinds of things. They don't care if their representative got their sleeping at the top. They care about, are they voting the right way? And I care about if they're voting the right way, but I also care about if they lied to get to where they are or slept their way to get to where they are. Like, I care about those things. And so I'm going to care about it whether or not they're voting the way I want. You know what I mean?
Okay. So what if you care about someone who is like a great person in their personal life, but they suck as Speaker of the House?
Then I don't want them there.
Like Speaker
Like
Mike
that's,
Johnson.
I'll
Right.
tell
So
you,
it's like the
I have that
opposite end of the.
conversation. Yeah, I have that
Yeah.
conversation with people about certain Illinois Republicans all the time. Like, I've gotten really into anybody who's watching right now. I love personally, if you're from Illinois and you know this guy, you probably know this name, Dan Brady. Love the guy to death as a person. He's a very, very nice guy. I didn't like a lot of his policies. A Republican,
Right.
but in terms of the way he voted, he would always be the guy where he was always looking for compromise, but he was only looking to be the compromiser. And so I didn't like that. But as a person, loved him. I didn't think he should be in a lot of the offices that he was. I supported people that were running against him when he used to be a state rep. But now he's not even in the office anymore. But I always loved the guy personally.
Mhm,
And I think,
mhm.
and I didn't think he should be in office just as much as I think somebody who is voting all the right ways and I love them politically, but I hate them personally, shouldn't be in office. If the way that you got there was of lacking moral conduct.
Okay.
Because
I
I can
see
hate
where-
you I can hate you personally, but you're just kind of an asshole. Like, there's a difference between being an asshole and being a liar or a Kamala Harris. Like,
Mhm, mhm,
so
mhm. I see what you're saying. To be honest, that sounds a lot like how the left views Trump.
really?
And so you're
No,
using
but that's
no,
the
but
difference,
you'd be using the same logic, right?
not the exact same, because I don't think, because like the thing is, I believe that Trump has done some shitty things that have nothing to do with that have nothing to do with his politics. Like, if you do shitty things that have everything to do with your politics, like George Santos. George Santos lied to get to where to get to his political position. He could be a liar outside of it, but if
there's
he's
a
told the
lot of
truth in
people
every
on the
single way-
left. There's a lot of people on the left that think that Trump lied about his net worth to pump up his status and his billionaire status so that he could get more media so that he could eventually run for president. I'm not saying I believe that. I'm just saying that's what the left believes. I'm just pointing it out, Kev.
Are you accusing me of being a communist, Gentry?
No, I'm accusing you of using the same logic.
Well, you can use the same logic and it not necessarily be reflective of the overall argument.
Okay.
I
Do you want to switch gears here? Because we have one last topic that I want to
Yep.
go over. Talk about moral decay and lack of integrity. This video. So one of my really bad habits is I wake up and I turn on TikTok. And this video popped up on my For You page today, and I was shocked. Okay, so let's go ahead and watch this. This is like a minute long.
You want to know if he likes you? I am just kidding. I'm actually here with a real live woman today. Say hi.
Hi.
Say hi again.
Hi.
To get her real. Say hi again. I'm just kidding. Let's get her opinion on a couple things. According to an article that I read this week, and this is 100% true because I read it somewhere, 50% of women, I'm not joking, 50% of women have a backup boyfriend available when they're in a relationship. Is this true? Have you done this? Why is this true?
I don't know if I can speak on that one.
Is it true?
Article where you read that.
Is it true?
Maybe.
So 50% of women have backup boyfriends.
I don't know.
So if a man is in a relationship, you're telling me right now that the woman he's with already knows who her next boyfriend would be if they broke up today.
No, not 50% of the time.
What kind of no was that?
Okay, I thought that was unbelievable. Hang on, let me get back to
I have questions for my girlfriend now. No,
Well,
I'm kidding.
so
I know
here's
that she wouldn't, but this is, you know what this reminds me of is, do you know the term hoflation? That's what this reminds me of.
no, but
It's
so I was
I want it. You
I
go,
was
you go, you go.
I was thinking about this morning, okay? After I watched that clip, and I was thinking like, okay, I've actually had some girls do this to me where like within weeks they're posting about another guy, blah blah blah, all this kind of stuff, right? And I've even had like my ex-wife went and married one of my friends like probably 6 months after after the divorce was finalized. I've had ex-girlfriends get married like a year later, right, after we broke up. Um, and so that video kind of like messed with me because I was thinking about it and I was like, okay, like if maybe not 50%, but if a lot of women know that they have a plan B, they're not necessarily giving the relationship 100% credit, right? Not saying that they need to just be like all in all the time, but they're not even like part of the way in. They're like, oh, you're an option. I could just swipe left on you and go find another guy.
Well, and
I
that's
could-
why yeah, you're absolutely right. That's why you have to have the conversation. This is why I know like that, like my girlfriend isn't thinking anything like that and doesn't, because from before my girlfriend and I even like put a label on it, I said, I am dating for marriage.
Mhm.
You like, that is the goal of this relationship. And so if we are going to proceed, if we're going to put a label on things, if we're going to make this more serious, then that also needs to be your goal. Like you see, like I see you as if we put a label, I see you as my future wife, you see me as your future husband,
Mhm.
and that's the way it works. That's
Mhm.
the way we're doing this. And so if that's not what you want, if that's not where we're going with this, then we're not going to go any further. And we had that conversation. She agreed, and that's how we're going with it. But then you have a lot of other women. Like I had a girlfriend years ago now, like 3 years ago, and she had a new boyfriend that actually, true story, was somebody that she would talk about. And I think she's a very nice person. And I
Yeah.
really, she was
Yeah.
always I don't have any negative feelings towards her. But within like 3 months afterwards, a guy that she would talk about as just a friend during the relationship, she was in a
Mhm.
relationship with him after me.
Mhm.
So if that was in her head, I don't know,
Yeah.
but maybe.
So I did like what you say though. It's like you're dating for marriage. And so I feel like what you were implying is that it's on the guys to define their relationship so that a girl is secure in where the relationship is going so that they don't have to think about a plan B. So do you think that this video potentially is a symptom of guys being douchebags and not wanting to date for marriage or all this kind of stuff? Because here's the other thing. This creator, I don't think he's conservative. I think he's just a guy who's apolitical. So that means he's probably left leaning and he's talking to all these left leaning girls, right? And so, but I'm trying to think of like the bigger symptom of what it is. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah, I gotta
it's on the
think about
guys
it.
to like define where it's going or say it's not going anywhere.
I think it could be a mixture. I don't think that it's all the guys' fault or all women's fault. Like, I don't think it's like one or the other. It's got to be a mixture of both. And I think to an extent, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's in some way guys' fault. I believe that in terms of infidelity statistics, men are much more likely to cheat in a relationship than women are. I believe. And so correct me if I'm wrong in the comments or anything. Like I will apologize if I'm wrong, but at least from my knowledge, men are more likely to cheat in a relationship. And so if that's the way that it is and that's the way it's progressed, then you can't blame some women for thinking about a plan B. If you don't have that conversation with marriage, if you believe that you're just dating for funsies and like that kind of thing, then yeah, like of course have a plan B, because the person that you're currently with also might be having a plan B if you're not having those kinds of conversations from the onset. If you're not, and this is what I've talked about, there's a thing that I talked about called NATO dating. It was a thing that kind of blew up a few months ago. It was not attached to an outcome dating, which essentially is the idea if you're just dating for funsies. You're not looking for marriage. You have no goal in mind.
Oh, I thought you were talking about NATO, like.
Oh yeah, no. It's not the North Atlantic Treaty Organization or treaty. It's not that. It's not attached to an outcome. And so when you have a generation that looks at dating and looks at relationships, serious relationships, not just having a friend or anything like that. No, a serious relationship as something to not go in with a goal or not to have a goal for, then that's going to affect a lot of other parts of your life too. It's the same reason why we have so many people that they go to college and they come out and they didn't really have a goal in college. And so maybe they don't even end up with a degree because they went in undeclared, never really found out what they wanted to do. And then they spent too much money and can't afford it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They have no goal. They have no idea of why they're getting into what they're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that happens, not only with, it can happen with college, it can happen with your career, it can happen with a hobby. But if it happens with a relationship, then it breeds this idea of like, well, I need to have a purpose. I need to have a reason why I'm doing the things that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't, I need to have an exit strategy.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have a clear-cut goal, then I need to know what I'm going to do if this fails. And so that's why. And so if you're not having that conversation, it's at the beginning of saying like, hey, what is the purpose of this relationship? Why are we together?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not marriage, then what is the purpose anyways?
Right.
And if you're not having that, then yes, you're going to have a guy that goes and cheats, and you're going to have a woman that has a plan B for when that guy goes and cheats. It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a guy that sits down and that's not every single situation. It's an overgeneralization of where it seems like the current generation is at. But if it's not that, I do want to talk about hoflation. Because hoflation is one of the most fascinating things in the world to me, and I think I've seen it. It's the concept of men having to work 20 times harder than their grandfathers did for a woman that's 20 times worse than their grandmothers were. And I honestly believe that as well. Now, I'm not going to say that all men are studs, and this is the problem, is we have people that come out and they're like, oh man, like men are the problem, or men, or even worse than that is you'll have men aren't the problem, women are entirely the problem. And as I said earlier, it's a mixture of both. This isn't to excuse men in poor behavior. This is to stand up for the nice guys, the good guys, the people that I know that want to have those people like me that want to have that conversation of, yeah, like if we're going to put a label on this, we're going to get married. That's the plan is we're going to get married. That's what we're working towards. And so when you have, you also have a society that's full of women, that are leaning into the promiscuous promises of feminists such as Cardi B and Nicki Minaj. Yeah, I feel bad for a lot of the nice guys out there. There's a bit of a hoflation.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it doesn't seem like there's this big push to get married anymore. And to be honest, I think a lot of it comes through the Hollywood cycle of they build up this like fairy tale, relationship, wedding, all this kind of stuff. But then they don't look at the aftermath of it. And then you see all these celebrities who everyone looks up to for some reason. They have the worst like marriage record of all time. And then of course that theory is just going to like permeate into the rest of us because we're reading it, we're watching it on the Kardashians, we're consuming it on social media.
Taylor Swift.
Actually, to be honest, my controversial take is that Taylor Swift hasn't actually been that bad as far as like.
Okay, yeah, but if her defense is that she's not that bad, it's still not that she's great.
No. She's not great. She's 20 on relationships, but she's never gotten married.
I'll give her that. Never
gotten married. And I do think that if Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift get married and they have a baby, it is going to create a baby boom and a ton of people are going to get married.
That's so crazy to me. That's
crazy. It is
crazy.
And you know why it's crazy?
Make your own decisions, people. Make your own decisions. Like.
No, people can't make their own decisions. They just can't. They literally cannot. They have this parody of choice, right? Or not the parody, the paradox of choice, right? they really don't have a choice. They're going to buy gas for their car. They're going to buy groceries that whoever they is, right? The food manufacturers are going to put it in there, right? With the internet, we have this like illusion of choice because we have so many more options. But even that isn't a good thing. I don't know if you remember from economics class, but it's a classic example of like having like 20 different options of peanut butter to pick, and then you're just like, which peanut butter do I pick? Which one do I choose? Right? So I don't think people actually know the choices that they make are like almost basically predetermined for them. And there's a study done by a psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever. But basically, you're going to make about 100,000 decisions in a day, and you're going to make about 80 to 90,000 of the same decisions as you made before. Right. So you really only have
we're creatures of habit, though. Like that's the other thing too. Is so like that kind of the thing is that are you not making that decision, or are you making that decision? Because if you made it independently the first time, if you made your decision independently the first time, then are you technically making that decision independently subsequently after that, because you did it the first time and it became a habit because you thought it was a good decision.
Right.
So,
but then the left twists it, right? They're like, oh, pro-choice. But if you choose life, that's not the right choice, right? Oh, like vote for Biden, like vote for the right choice, or it's gonna hurt our democracy. It's gonna be an end of our democracy. But if you choose the other side, it's the wrong choice, right? So then even the whole choice thing is like, no, you have one choice. You have to do this one thing.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't know.
This is super meta, and I want people to like understand the paradox of choice, because it goes into so many aspects of life. And our choices compound. And so if you make a good decision and you keep making a good decision, it's going to compound. You're not necessarily going to see results right away. But if you make bad decisions, like let's say eating ice cream every night or drinking every night, right? Those decisions are going to just like compound. I had a mentor tell me one time is that your inputs, whatever you put in your head, leads to your thoughts. Your thoughts leads to your habits. Your habits leads to your actions. Or no, sorry. Your inputs leads to your thoughts. Your thoughts leads to your actions. Your actions leads to your habits, and your habits will lead you to your destiny or your destruction.
Yeah, I could absolutely see that. It's similar. I mean, like it's just kind of a it's a positive versus a negative feedback loop.
Right. So anybody who's watching this, you, me, Kev, too, because I put bad inputs in. Like, if you really want to change your life and like have a better life than you have right now, whether that be like financially, spiritually, relationally, whatever, change the inputs that you're putting in. Seriously.
Yeah.
Change the inputs you're putting in, because it's like it can have unbelievable compounding effects, right? One of the things that I've texted into our group a couple times is, can you imagine where Breakaway is going to be in a year if we just keep doing this, if we keep making those like incremental changes? I remember a couple weeks ago we were at like 4 people watching this. Now we're at 7. Right? I think we got up to 9 earlier, right? So we're even hitting records on this thing, right? Can you imagine next week if we go 10 and then we go 15 and then we go 50, and then like it just like the compounding effect of that is unbelievably real. Of the consistency, putting out good content, researching this stuff, getting really sharp and practicing our communication skills. So I got to practice, to be honest. Like I'm not good like you, man. I got
man, you're too nice to me. I mean, that's what this is though. Every week we're just getting better.
No, but I'm dead serious. Like I'm in the car just like pretending I'm on stage. pretending I'm giving a sermon or pretending I'm doing something, right? And then I have to like, okay, like, well, what if I say this or what if I say this? Oh, that's not good. That's not good. Anyway, that's a long rant about. Let's just figure out how to change our inputs, right?
Yeah.
The illusion of choice is real. We were talking
It's
about
simple.
dating, but
Yeah, no, I mean, like
yeah.
if you want to make a change, I mean, I always bring up weight. Weight is a big one for me because I've lost like 50 pounds in the last 9 months. And it's simple. What are you putting into your body?
Yep.
Are you putting in a crap ton of sugar, a crap ton of processed sodium filled crap? Are you putting in things that are natural? So when you wake up in the morning and you're not feeling good, is it because you just ate like a lot of crap the night before and all day before?
Right.
Like maybe it's because of that. Are you walking? Are you running? Are you doing stuff to stay in shape? How many calories are you losing a day? Calorie input versus calorie output. That's how you lose weight at a simple form. So
Yep.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I think we've hit about an hour.
Yep.
I think we've hit just about everything.
We're at 105. All right, let's wrap it up. Everybody, thank you so much for watching this weekend update with Gentry and Kev. Don't forget to follow us on breakaway_USA, Speechless with Kev on Instagram and YouTube. Please go follow Kev on Instagram. He's trying to build up that page. Just started. I think he got like 85 followers now.
Yeah, something like that building up. At Speechless Kev. You can check it out there. You can check it out on TikTok too.
TikTok, yep. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok. Go to breakawayusa.co, and you'll be able to find all of our links. Sign up for our email page. Share this episode. Tell people to tune in next week. We love doing this, and we love you guys. I'm seeing the chats right now. Like, I mean, I even see like encouragement in the chat. So that's freaking awesome. Keep up the good work, guys. And until next time, we will see you next week.
Thank you.